A number of months ago, I agreed to deliver a sermon, either not knowing or remembering the topic, resistance. One of the editors of our newsletter, The Communique, was ready for my sermon title, subject resistance, for our May issue. I didn't have one at the time. She, and you know who that is because I'm the other female editor of the newsletter, she, now you know who it is, said, resistance is futile. A famous line from Star Trek, The Next Generation, said by the Borg, an artificial intelligence absorbing the mind, will, and knowledge of all living things in all universes. I declined the suggestion, but recognized I was in a dilemma. Some things had earlier deadlines, like my half of the tax figures, committee meetings, my mom, doctor's appointments. I was collecting my thoughts, experiences of others, relevant readings, making lots of notes, but no sermon. When I began to really think about resistance, first came to mind Tradition from The Fiddler on the Roof. The song spoke of resistance to a perceived change in cultural norms, values, religious beliefs. Change is not a good thing for many, particularly when seen as a threat to the status quo. Next came to mind the Baptist hymn, yield not to temptation, for yielding is a sin. Each victory will help you, some other to win. Raised in the Black Baptist Church, this was a standard song on many an occasion. The idea of resisting evil over good is a main focus in many denominations. Of course, in too many cases, the resistors have power to define and dictate what or who is evil, and with an ability to force compliance. Resistance can be good, bad, or ugly. Definitions range from objection, opposition, noncompliance, and insurgency to uprisings. The antonyms, the opposite meanings, include compliance, conform, assistance, aid, and peace. Resistance in most cases is learned behavior, and there is a choice. Those who resisted COVID-19 precautions either got very sick or they transitioned. They chose group alliance rather than making a personal decision based on medical documentation. The resistance being a lack of trust of other sources. The dilemma of resistance is when to compromise, stand your ground, or face an undesirable alternative. The dilemma is also the value of what should be resisted and what means personally. Can the easier path reduce stress, find justice, inclusion, or is it a stand your ground, ready to battle? I am most comfortable trying to seek a compromise depending on the issue. Yes, and you know me, I have been known not to willingly yield. It depends on what is valued and the degree of my passion. I bought my resistance band today. You know I'm into exercise, okay? I'm not going to sling it to anybody, okay? We use it with our hands and with our feet, but it is a resistance, okay? My mother told me the story of my first attempt at resistance. I was about 2. Whatever she asked me to do, I held my breath in anger. Never did that again. Resistance was futile. I had 4 cousins, me being the oldest. We were 2 years apart. At my grandparents' or any family member's house, there were expectations. The rules were known and internalized at a very young age. Play together quietly in the same room. Toys are to be returned to their place. No personal house tours. Do not interrupt adult conversations unless it's an emergency. And above all, you will not whisper with friends in church. You will not squirm, run, or take your time in the bathroom. We knew about sin and yield not to temptation. Hell could happen on earth. Best resist temptation. There were 4 out of 5 of us usually in compliance. During my early years in an integrated elementary school, we witnessed on television the attempt to racially desegregate a school in the South. The morning after, we didn't know how to respond to each other. There was resistance. By mid-morning recess, all was back to normal. Looking back now, we resisted conforming to the hatred and fear we saw based on color. We were miles away. We were not them, and we were not there. We were young Negroes from many American generations living alongside first or second generation Jewish Americans, white Catholic and Protestants, one first generation Japanese American, and a Native American. I call him, and I still remember his name, the original American. We were friends and chose to remain as such. I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, by the way. Many of us stayed together through high school. We learned about historical resistance by individual races, religions, and ethnic groups. We integrated the teen club and swimming pool at the local YWCA. Without protest, although the director did resign. It was just done. There was no rule against integrating in Philadelphia. The resistance to tradition felt good. Our choice, our values. In my junior year at Howard University, think the 1960s, there were many challenges around resistance in many areas. There was the civil rights movement for racial equality, women's rights, whether or not a Catholic could become president of the United States. The thinking was that he would follow the edicts of the Pope. Remember that time? Desegregation of public places, plus race riots nationally. Resistance was about values and how we saw our nation, our people, moving forward. I was a part of the civil and women's rights movements for change. I was an equal, a young Black woman. Rioting was not an option for me. Personal danger and destruction of property, almost always in the neighborhood of the rioters, didn't make sense to me. I brought up a compromise. A sickle cell anemia sick-out day in the nation's capital. Think about that. I argued that the city would be shut down. No buses or taxis, no food service, housekeeping, gardening, building maintenance, or trash pickup. I figured that the lack of the support system staffed by people of color would make a point without destruction. Destruction won the day. But Congress did respond with the Voting Rights Act, the Equal Housing Opportunity provisions, school desegregation, to name a few. Women's issues remained a holdout, and they still are today. In my senior year at Howard, I took a required class on collective behavior, the difficulty of resistance overcoming your pull to conform. That summer, I attended a family homecoming in rural North Carolina. It consisted of family introductions, church service, baptisms in an actual lake, food, and praise. I sat with relatives in the church looking cute in my city outfit. I even had a hat on because that's what you did in a Black church back in the day. As the sanctuary became full, one person began to sing. Others joined in, sounding like 12-part harmony in perfect pitch. The congregants continued to sing as the choir processed in, taking up the hymn. There was rhythmic clapping of hands. All were singing with great emotion. Suddenly, people began to stand up and speak in tongues, shouting praises, falling on their knees, running up and down the aisles. I felt a rise in emotion that was very, very powerful. I consciously held back by focusing on my 250-pound aunt. If she got happy, I had to be prepared to move or be crushed. It was the first time I really understood the pull of collective behavior which I managed with great effort to resist. I'll never forget that. The behavior was foreign to me, and I wasn't comfortable. I chose to resist. I have been addressing human behavior, but as we are all aware, other animals can also face the dilemma of resistance. My outdoor cat hated her carrier and resisted repeatedly. She loved the seashore, but didn't like being in a cage to get there. She had to be trapped to get into her cage. Sometimes it took an hour to find her hiding place. Once she arrived, after a stress caused sleep, she was happy. Returning was the same scenario, however. Eventually, she had to be left for a few days. The neighbor fed her. She drank tainted water and came back home very, very sick. Dilemma solved after a trip to the vet. She never again resisted the carrier. And I'm happy as an aside. Have you ever tried to give a cat a pill? Our four-footed greeter, company, and security here at the fellowship during the week, Mr. Theodore Teddy Williams, tried to resist his mom's wishes. He wanted to walk rather than ride. I was told it was a stare down for a good 15 minutes. Mom won. Knowing he had been a bad boy, upon arriving home, he immediately went to his bed, looking sorrowful. Resistance need not be a dilemma. Choice and consequences are in our control. Our chalice represents options other than tradition. The pursuit of our individual paths toward wholeness, justice, compassion, inclusion, and peace is the flame that guides us. Blessed be.
Have to get my box back in place. At this time, we're going to sing hymn 1024 in the teal hymnal, When the Spirit Says Do.
This is yours.
As a self-funded congregation, we do always need money. But we also, truth. But we also need volunteers. We need social justice activists and friendly smiles and diversity. So if you are ever unable to donate, you are still welcome here, no questions asked. We are grateful for anything you feel willing and able to give. And if you are with us for the first time this morning, please feel free to pass the basket. Your presence is your gift to us. So the ushers will come through, and the offering music is hymn 1067, Mother Earth Beloved, in the teal hymnal. You are welcome to join with us. You don't need to stand. So every couple of years, the question comes up, should we still do announcements? When should we do announcements? What should we call announcements? I contend that our life of the community is just that. It is the blood that flows among us, and we do things together. So this week, we have several messages. The general membership meeting of the NAACP Chapter 5093B is this Thursday, from 6 to 8 at the Congregational United Church of Christ, 1201 Acquiesce Drive, Punta Gorda. It is a closed meeting, open only to members and guests, so nobody comes in off the street. Lori B. asks, besides Home Depot or Lowe's, does anyone know of a good plumber? See, it's important stuff, really important. I'm repeating this from last week, but I think that, excuse me, we have to remember this. If you have news to pass on of somebody who is ailing, not feeling well, having a struggle, you may pass that information on to the caring committee by emailing them directly at caring@uufcc.org. And I've got Janet is coming up for an announcement.
Good morning. Hope I do this better than playing. I'm sorry, my hands are going nuts today. Anyway, I'm excited to share the news that the board approved the formation of a music committee. This group will explore and expand related opportunities to enhance our worship experience. At this point, the group consists of choir members and one tech person. Since you are our customer, we need to have representation from the congregation, whether that's friends or members or just regular visitors. No music experience is necessary, just an appreciation for music and its role in the service, plus a willingness to serve and share ideas. Your participation is valuable. No commitments are required. I told the choir that they didn't have to give up their firstborn. I don't want any more kids anyway. So I see this as more like an open committee. There will be an invitation with an announcement in the updates from Mary Jane. And also, I'm hoping to get something printed in the order of service the week before. Since we're still in the process of organizing, more details will be forthcoming. My email address and phone number will be provided as a contact in the updates. But if you have any questions in the meantime, please see me after the service. I'm going to be co-chair with Linda Poindexter, if you would acknowledge yourself over there. We really don't know what we're doing yet, but we're welcoming ideas. We're looking for something new to add to the program, so other than just me and the choir. So if you have any hidden abilities out there, and it doesn't have to be the conventional stuff. I'm thinking like drum circles and just frame drums or something delving into other cultures and stuff. We're a diverse group and we need to share that. So thank you. Man, that's more nerve-wracking than playing the piano.
Okay, sorry. Somebody can get it.
Ooh, I'm short too, but I just wanted to remind everybody that this is the last week to get any notes or letters or anything in for Peg Stunkard. We do have a member who will be leaving to visit her the first week of May, and there's a box right by my office door that you can drop things in. So send her your love. I think she just turned 102. Makes me tired to think about it.
Yeah, we're going to kick this aside. This reminds me of Amy. The responsive reading is in the gray hymnal, it's 558. for everything a season. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time for war.
The choir and the congregation are now invited to sing hymn 318 in the gray hymnal, "We Would Be One." Now we extinguish the chalice. As Linda comes up to extinguish it, we read from your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. May those ideals shine our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. The choir will sing you out with Dona Nobis. Thanks to all for coming today, and have refreshments outside. Good job.